El Cantante, Sneaking Around Pants, and Pa Does Not Love Fa. You know that's right. It's episode 10 of season 3 of this podcast and of Psych. And of course, I didn't have the open ready, but I do right about now.
I've heard it both ways.
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 We're back, baby!
We are back.
We are back. Welcome to I've Heard It Both Ways. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe, riding shotgun in the blueberry with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Tinder date gone wrong.
That's fantastic. I love that.
How we doing, Billy?
Fantastic. It's good to be back. Breaking news in the psych world since we've been gone. They're stealing our shit.
Yeah, fucking posers.
What the hell is that?
Yeah. I know they pay attention to our shit because, you know, like we'll put like when we put some shit on Instagram, all of a sudden then they got some shit on Instagram, you know what I mean? And now they're doing a rewatch podcast. Like the only good thing that comes out of that really is the fact that it seems like Lassie's, you know, his health is a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
But
they're stepping on our funk.
They really are stepping on our funk. So we're gonna have to step right back. You know what I mean? Step right back and, you know, really give them a taste of their own funk. But yeah, that was, you know, interesting to see. It was funny because you messaged me right away. Go, they're stealing our shit. And I like, fuck, they are. But in other psych news, we're getting the Psych movie next week, Billy. I didn't realize it was coming up that fast.
Yes, very soon. You know, I think we have some shifting plans for our next podcast. We'll talk about that off air, but I think we might take a different day of the week and then also review that.
Yeah.
A quick reaction instead, and, you know, extend this podcast for as long as humanly possible.
Yeah. Keep that train rolling, you know, but I think that'll be a lot of fun talking about the new the Psych 3 movie. So that'll be I really love the second one, and so this will be a fun one. But that's a different episode for a different day. Today, folks, we are discussing Psych Season 3, Episode 10, 6 Feet Under the Sea. And Billy, to remind the audience, what's our process, baby?
All right, can I actually get it this time? I think I will. It starts with the holler, ends with the cream skull, and there's time in between a little Thundercats.
Oh! So yeah, this is a great episode. I forgot how much I enjoyed this one. And real quick before we dive into it, just a quick synopsis. Shawn and Gus are hired by April MacArthur, an attractive marine biologist who suspects. I said it right, Jesus. Who suspects that a recently released sea lion's death resulted from foul play and thinks wildlife television host Randy Labayda may be involved.
Darcy.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that.
So let's get to that right now. Who's our standout guest star, Billy?
Oh, it's Marcy Darcy, one of the all-time great television character actors, Ted McGinley, a.k.a. Randy Labayda, all from Revenge of the Nerds, obviously. And then my favorite role of his is Married with Children. And I'll just say it right now. I use this all of the time. It is one of his lines from this episode. It is, I don't care if there's a hair out of place, even a hair. Like I go to my beard. You let me know right away. We'll start over. But he says chest hair, and he kills it in the small portion that he's in. Is kind of like a Shooter McGavin role, if you will. And I thought he was terrific.
Yeah, he's got, you know, one of those faces, right? Like he can just play. Like I wouldn't call him sleazy in this episode, but like I
would. That's exactly what I actually used to describe him.
Okay, so maybe our differences, our definitions of sleazy are different, but like he definitely plays that, like, you know, TV personality, like, you know, just, you know, he's a diva. He's a diva. I call him more of a diva than sleazy, but maybe they kind of go hand in hand in this. But he was in it real briefly, but. You know, I've always loved everything that he's been in. He was great in Married with Children. You know, I remember, you know, I was probably way too young watching Revenge of the Nerds as a kid. But it was on like basic cable like every Saturday. Like there was nothing better than like a rainy Saturday. You're stuck indoors. And it was either like Superman 1978 or like Revenge of the Nerds. Those like were the movies that were always on. So definitely remember him from that. But he was great in this episode. And, you know, I loved this cold open, Billy. to this episode.
Horrible Henry hair though.
Oh, just the pits. But the worse that it gets, the better that it gets. But I love that you've got Shawn and Gus, in the bus, and they're obviously on a field trip. We've seen sort of the start of this type of cold open before, but they hang back. All the kids get off the bus, and then they've got like this plan. They want to ride a dolphin.
Well, Shawn wants to ride dolphin.
True. Gus just wants to see the sea otters.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the fact that he's got it all planned out. My dad's home at 6, so he's not a chaperone today. This is how we're going to pull it off. They get off the bus, and who's there?
Henry, right in the face with the heart. Like, he just has the biggest piece of wispy hair just coming straight down. It looked terrible, but he was all over him. And I like your points here because he doesn't want Shawn to stop doing this necessarily. He just wants he wants him to make it harder for him to catch him if he's going to create a deception.
Yeah, and I love that because he's like, "Listen, kid, it's you're gonna have to get up earlier in the morning to beat me, so do it." Like, he's like challenging him, and I love that. I don't know, it was because Henry could have been a hard ass here and ratted him out, but he was just like, no, make me work for it. Like, make me actually break a sweat here. And I don't know, I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. And so we get the start of the episode here. So they're at the field trip is at the aquarium because Shawn wants to ride the dolphin. So this is where the episode is really primarily going to take place. It's going to revolve around the aquarium. And so Gus is in a suit, and Shawn's like, "What the hell? Where are we? What are we doing here?" And Gus breaks it down to Shawn. He finally gives in and tells him that they're at a funeral. And I love Shawn's reaction here.
Oh, it's incredible because we're not going to a crime at a gentleman's fine finishing school. And Shawn kind of sniffs out that it's an aquatic themed funeral, and he's like looking around at all the stuff. Who died? Is that guy? I bet you it's that guy. If anybody was 1 foot in the grave, it's this guy.
Yeah, and he's sitting
right there. Sorry, the camera adds 10 years. It's 10 pounds, Shawn.
Who died? Jack Cousteau, Jake Cousteau.
Hilarious.
And I love Shawn's reaction because we kind of get this theme throughout the series. Shawn doesn't handle death very well.
No.
And right away when Gus tells him that they're at a funeral, he goes, "Gus, I hate funerals. They're depressing. There's organ music, and 6 out of 10 times there's a snake in the casket."
Yeah, which is always great too because 6 out of 10 is 3 out of 5. So I just like that he went with like the odd percentage there.
Yeah. So that was, just such a typical Shawn response. And I love it because he's just like rolling his eyes the whole time. And when he finds out that it's a funeral for a fucking sea lion
and an open casket,
he's like, "What the hell are we doing here?" Like, and you got, Gus, he's a sympathetic crier.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this because it's just so Gus. This is like, you really could have gone either way with favorite character. There's a clear choice here, but
yeah,
when Gus is standing at that casket and he's just like, telling Shabby the sea lion, how important he was and how missed he'll be. Like, It was just so classic Gus. I absolutely loved it. And so
even Randy Labayda's eulogy was pretty good, of all the animal creatures of the world cried, it would raise the sea level 2 inches.
Yeah.
And Gus even be like, "Swim free in the heaven where there are no predators." It was just fantastic.
Yeah, it was so over the top, but I think that's what makes Psych so great. Like, we love the episodes where there's a really great crime and there's really great comedy and the mystery's fantastic, and we're approaching some more serious, episodes.
Yeah, the next one's super serious.
Yeah.
This one had a good comedy rhythm, though. Like, it was just boom, 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 the whole episode.
Yeah, start to finish. And this is one of those episodes where, the premise is a little bit more outlandish. Mm-hmm. But I think that's where Psych really thrives, is when they take something like this and they can get a little over the top with it without being, like, too silly. Have there be sort of a good crime with it. But, like, the comedy, the pacing, the fact that it's an episode revolving around a murdered sea lion, like, that is so Psych, and it was so perfect. And this is the highest score we've given. We'll get to this later, but this was the highest
season
rated,
3 probably.
Yeah, so at least that we've given it a long time, and definitely since we've sort of adjusted our scale a little bit. But so they're at the funeral, and then of course, what does Shawn see? He looks in the casket, and he sees some wounds that I don't know how they would have gone unnoticed in the first place, but because it's a sea lion, probably people are probably like, yeah, okay, it's dead, whatever. But Shawn goes, I think this sea lion was murdered.
Yeah, and turns out it was.
Yeah.
And they do a nice job, even though it's an outlandish story, of kind of tying it back to another thing that's kind of happening that we'll address later. And as much as it is outlandish, I think it's done really, really well. And from this little piece, we get like everything is so thought out and planned out, because how do you get from one step to the next where Shawn thinks the sea lion's murdered? Well, boom, somebody overhears them, and it's somebody who they think works at the aquarium, and she was onto this anyway. So it's just really just kind of flowing down the river or ocean, if you will, with the storytelling here. It's really quite nicely done. You're not like, well, how do you get from point A to point B? It's very simple to follow.
Yeah, the pieces of the puzzle were really put together well in this episode. And this is one of those instances, Billy, where you always bust my balls about me not liking the side story. And even though there wasn't really much of a side story, there was a little bit, and it was perfect because it really tied, everything together. Because you're going through this episode going, okay, well, who gives a shit about a sea lion? Was it murdered? Was it foul play? Was it just natural causes? But the way that last puzzle piece fits, it really ties the room together. But that's a good instance, and we've had a couple of these now where the side story involving Lassie or Jules really kind of fits in well. And pairs well with the main story. So we get back to the office here, and this is where we meet April, who is the woman that we see in the scene prior saying, "Did you say murdered?" And so she has a suspicion that there was definitely some foul play. She doesn't know exactly what, but she doesn't trust Randy Labayda as far as I can throw him. And
with your bad back, you shouldn't be throwing anybody.
Well, I got a great back, bad neck, great back.
All right,
there you go. But April kind of tells him under kind of false pretenses, right, that she works at the aquarium. She's really suspicious of Randy. There was some activity right before Shabby's release into the ocean, because that's how he died. He died during his release back into the world. And she says, I can get you in, right? And so the guy, they're all into it. Gus and Shawn are 100% into it. So we get to the aquarium, and she's like, well, so I did work here, but Randy had me fired 2 weeks ago. So now they're really painting Randy as the suspect here. And she does a very stellar job at giving them 10 fingers, over that.
Oh, yeah. Impressive strength for a girl her size, as they would say. But like the stuff in the office, the back and forth between Gus and Shawn fighting over the woman, which I'm sure will be in our favorite parts. We'll get to that. That's one of my favorite parts we'll bring up later. But that is just pure back and forth, them flirting. Yeah. And even that's a player's coat. That coat's mine, Shawn. That's a player's coat.
That's right. The lime green coat he's wearing. Yeah, because we get this type of back and forth numerous times throughout the series.
Yeah.
And it's great every time they do it. Because they pick and choose their moments. It's not like they do this over every girl, because usually Shawn is pining over Jules. But this is an instance where, it's just, I love when Shawn and Gus are competing against each other. That's really, I think, when they're at their best. And there's a scene here at the aquarium where they break it. Well, yeah, they sneak in. She gives them the code to Randy's office, and, they're doing the investigating thing. And this dude's office is fucking awesome, because it's like in like the tank. So one of the walls is legit just the glass to the giant tank. And so there's this dolphin swimming by, and I don't know why it makes me laugh so hard, but every time I watch it, Gus just going up to that big one, he goes, hi, to the dolphin.
It's like, hi, fireman.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, dolphin. It cracks me up every time, because Gus is such a nerd sometimes.
Even when he goes to feed it, come here, dolphin.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I'll just mention really quickly that I absolutely loved, when she's like, I could probably free jump it, and Shawn's just like, where would you land? Talking about hopping over the wall.
Right.
I could free jump it.
Where would you?
I could vault it.
Yeah. Oh man, so like, Oh, it's been a while since we've like chuckled just thinking about some of these scenes. This one, like this episode, really tickles that funny bone. And so they're in the office there, right? They're investigating, and they find Shawn finds a second laptop, a hidden laptop. They open
Yeah.
it up, and it's just for like GPS coordinates. It's like they're tracking something, but they don't know what. So again, like the show is doing a really good job at painting this sleazy looking guy as the suspect. And sometimes it's that easy, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes right off the bat. But I think what this episode does is it does a good job at leading you one way, and then we get that swerve, and I'm about to sneeze, and I apologize if I fucking blow everyone's ears out with a sneeze in a second. But this is just they're really setting things up here, and so they also discover some notes about Shabby's release into the ocean, because this is where April really, this is where her doubts and her suspicions come in, and they find out that Shabby was supposed to be released on, at this particular location, but he wasn't released there. He was released somewhere else. So everything seems really suspect, really sketchy. And then we get back to the station.
We get the childhood dream though of Shawn real quick.
Oh shit! Yes, 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 yes. I love this with the tearaway pants. Take it away,
Oh,
Billy.
it's so friggin' great. He just rips him off. It's in a lot of the cold opens, and he doesn't even do it cleanly first, but doesn't stop him, rips him right off. Because he wants to ride a dolphin into history. That's the whole thing from the cold open.
Yeah.
And he gives Gus the camera, and he's like, it's digital, just keep snapping, don't worry. And they wind up getting caught and all arrested.
Yeah.
But this is the classic. The dolphin's making too much noise. Somebody's coming, and he goes, "Pa does not love Fa," which I found out. It'll be in our references later, but I looked it up, and what the hell is it? That's a tease ahead. We'll find it later.
Okay,
when we get
we'll
to that
find out
section.
because I have no idea.
Because
So
it's from a dolphin movie from like 1977. I'll get you the name later.
Okay. That dolphin was a real fucking prick, by the way.
Hey, I mean, he shouldn't be feeding him barehanded anyways, because that's how you get all those kind of diseases. And that's where you get Gus with the, "Come here, dolphin. Let me feed him."
Yeah, but it's like dolphin. Like, shut up! You're knocking your buddy out here. He'll give me the fucking air and just shut your mouth, right? So after they get arrested, they're at the station. Chief is pissed because these guys get arrested, and she got dragged out of a Phil Collins concert.
Which I love for two reasons. One, because we had already planted the seeds of her loving Phil Collins in the episode where they go 70s style.
Yep.
And Shawn claims that they're with Phil Collins, and she knows that Phil Collins like lives in like Europe or something.
Right.
And Shawn goes, "How does she know so much about Phil Collins?"
Yeah.
So she shows up in a Dolce jacket, and Gus is like, "Where the hell are you coming from?" And it's the Phil Collins concert. So it's just like that kind of like just that little detail, that subtle detail of dropping she knew what Phil Collins was before, and now she's at a Phil Collins concert. I love it.
Yeah, and this is where she drops the line: "If I miss against all odds, somebody is getting fired."
Love it.
Like, she's fired up. You don't apparently get in the way of Chief Vic and her Phil. So I just love that. And we get, this is another really great scene, because this is sort of where we get this introduction into the side story that at the time doesn't seem like a side story, because it's really not referenced again until the end of the episode. But Lassie comes in because he wants to see Shawn and Gus, in cuffs, being arrested, but they were released because April had come in and said, "Oh, it was my fault. I broke him in." Bop, 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 bop. So Chief Vic lets him go, but Lassie is now all of a sudden he's really interested in what they're working on, because he had a real snafu with the current case that he's working on, where he kind of got embarrassed. We're seeing a little down and out Lassie here. He's a bit of a slump, and I love how this story came back into play. And so the case that he was working on, Billy, I believe it was a plane crashed over the ocean.
Yeah, what does Rocinante mean to you?
Yeah, right. And it was carrying diamonds, right?
It was, yes. And they wouldn't let him use the police helicopter because only it doesn't fly when it rains or whatever. So the FBI was a little mad at him that he kind of bungled this case. So he's looking to get in on anything to kind of bust his slump. So he wants to know what's up with Jules's and Sean's and Gus's case, and the setup for this is friggin' fantastic. Like he's like, well, give me something. I want anything. Give me his name. And like the name that they give him, well, Shabby.
Shabby.
Got a given name.
And then Sean spells it out, and he goes, Thessalion. Shabby Thessalion.
Yeah.
When Sean had spelled out the sea lion.
Yeah. How big? 6 feet, about 600 pounds. Good God.
Yeah, fucking Huss, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, I absolutely love that. That was great. And so, Billy, correct me if I'm wrong, but where we go from here, we go to the morgue. Is this the last time we get a morgue scene until we get without Woody?
So I believe that Woody makes his first appearance in the episode where Gus's nickname is Detective Miles? No. It's something detective.
Because it definitely comes in next season, right? Or is that this season?
I don't know. I think it let's take a quick googs here.
Quick googs. Because I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to prepare all the people right now. As soon as Woody gets introduced, any episode he is in, he's going to be my favorite character from that episode.
Okay, he made his first appearance in episode 4? This is episode 4. I'm assuming season 4.
Yeah, because he's in it, pretty regularly throughout. And season 5 seems way too late for Woody. So I can't wait because that episode where he makes his debut, where he leaves the wristwatch, or talks about and he's eating the fries and the ketchup and the Rosetta Stone joke, right? All that. So I can't fucking wait. Woody is the goddamn man. But so they're at the morgue. What the hell do you call the dude that works at the morgue there? The autopsy person. Jesus,
coroner.
The coroner. Thank you. He's like, yeah, all signs point to being an accident. And I gotta tell you something. This guy's a squid.
Oh, absolutely! I hate him. I wrote down, I can't wait fucking for Woody. I mean, this was not a good performance either. He was a terrible actor, but he does, give you a few odd things. Lassie's pissed because they're all things that he thinks lead it to being just an accident, that he's smashing in a coral. But Gus points out that, they're precision animals. They wouldn't actually do that. So Lassie's pissed. He walks out, and Shawn kind of is with him, but he's not ready to give up just yet.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, this is another good thing that the show does, and in this episode in particular, it's like, okay, they're sowing a little bit of doubt now. Could it be an accident? Is there something else going on? Is Labayda still, prime suspect numero uno? But this is a good little scene because it's just sowing a little bit of doubt. And before Shawn gives up on it, he wants to do one last little bit of investigation. So we go back, we visit our old friend Henry in Henry's boat, and Shawn's trying to con Henry into letting him borrow his boat, but Henry, in typical Henry fashion, says, "No, I'm going to teach you how to drive the boat properly first." And Shawn absconds with the boat here, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, no. And one of my favorite quotes is, "He's gonna come after us." No, he can't swim that fast. And just the way he casually says that, it's so good. No, Shawn, I wanted you to drive the boat. No, I think he wanted you to drive the boat, Shawn. And they have no idea what they're doing. He got like a 2-second lesson, and he has no idea how to work the GPS until Gus tells him. And then they do the whole thing with the emoji and the no ocular socket at all, right? With like a winky face emoji. And it's a pretty good setup because they finally do see something on the radar, but it's another boat, so they kind of kick out the lights because they're in an area they shouldn't be. And they think that somebody else might be looking for the same thing that they're looking for.
Yeah, so because I think they want to go out to the coral, the coral reef that, it's off the coast, and that's protected waters. They're not supposed to be there because of the coral that was found on Shabby from the morgue. And so, they kill the lights. They don't know, the other boat approaches, and the guys on that boat, I mean, right away, they're sus, right? But they give some sort of flimsy excuse like, "Oh yeah, we thought you guys would help. We've been stranded out here. We called for help." And they're two very sketchy looking guys, but they buy. sort of what Shawn and Gus are telling them, and we're going to see these guys a few more times, before the episode's over. Nope, can't hear you, Billy.
Little mute right there as I was typing away trying to find Woody's first episode, and I will find it. But yeah, so we get that, and then Sean's even more convinced now because these guys seemed so sketchy.
Yeah.
And doesn't Gus say they both have like some sort of disease too? That was hilarious. Like, and we both have like some sort of disease you wouldn't want if you were gonna have sex with them, basically.
Oh Jesus, I missed that part.
It's hilarious. I think we also get a great nickname in that moment as well. And it's just a nice setup to kind of give you a little more. There could be another suspect other than Randy.
Yeah, because I think at this point too, we find out. I don't know if he gets a call, or maybe he gets a text on his phone that they actually found a bullet inside a Shabby. Right, I think that happens right.
That's
at the
when they're
scene
coming right back from this, and Sean's like,
Yep.
"Dad, you called the cops?" And he's like, "No,
Oh,
they
that's
called
right.
us."
That's right.
And that's a great over the top line by "He was murdered" from Lassie on the dock.
That's right. Yeah, because as they're approaching back, there's Henry. He's looking pissed, and he's flanked by Lassie and Jules, and so now we know. Okay, there's definitely something foul afoot. And now we've got a couple of new suspects. That, they still haven't ruled Randy out, so you don't know if it's a tag team effort here or what exactly is going on. Because at this point, okay, a sea lion's dead, but why and who cares still, right? Like, it's just a sea lion. So they're back at the station, and Labayda is there. He's in for questioning, and this is maybe one of the most ridiculous scenes ever on this show, because you've got Ted McGinley sitting there with a fucking owl on his shoulder, looking he's got this dopey ass look on his face, and he won't remove the owl because if he doesn't bond properly with this owl in time for his show, this owl's gonna lose its fucking shit.
Well, it's actually gonna crap all over his
that's what it is.
His Ed Hardy tee, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And this is also, we get another little nugget about the FBI, because initially Lassie's interrogating him, and then Jules comes in, I think on purpose to kind of get him out of there, and says, "Go talk to the FBI." She brings in the other Dolphin lady, or the
April,
the marine biologist, or whatever the hell she is, and they kind of tag team him, and they get him all frazzled, and he's ready to call his lawyer. And this is a great setup. That is one of the first few times they did it in Psych, where he calls his video guy or whatever. He's like, "I need you to take a trip. I need you to go away. I need you to get out of here and destroy the tapes." He's like, "I can't get the tapes. Your hair analysts are looking at it." Phenomenal cover story, but it's also one of the few times in Psych where something else sets up Shawn and Gus, because we don't know where they're going from there when they leave the dock. And this is a setup, from Jules to Labayda back to them, which doesn't often happen. Usually they're carrying the action, and this time somebody sets it up, and they're just in there reviewing the the footage. And I think it's just a nice little setup.
Yeah, it was not only a great setup, but again, it was further, again, another puzzle piece that makes you think it's Labayda. Okay, like, because what they've done, right, is throughout this entire episode is they've given you a character who looks, squirrely. He looks guilty of something, right?
As the kids would say, he looks sus.
Yeah, he's sus as fuck, right? Sus AF, as our boy Bert said in the chat. And so, like, okay, so now we're thinking, okay, we know who the suspect is, we know who the victim is, but why did he kill him? So now, like, the part that you're missing is just the why. And what's brilliant is that they really, really are setting you down a path, and when the swerve comes, you're like, oh shit, that is fucking awesome. And but they like it works because they put in all the legwork to make you really go down that path and go down that path hard with conviction.
And they do some good detective work here, because they go through all the footage and they find out that he's not a killer. He's just a narcissist, and he was only doing it to get a better shot because there was a boat pulling through, so they didn't have the pretty skyline. And they kind of rule him out, but the way that they get out of this situation too is one of my favorite things of the season.
Oh, so
where he goes, Plan A or Plan B?
Oh,
And Gus goes, Plan B.
yeah.
And then they cut to the guy busting down the door, breaking
that's right.
the room, and Shawn just looks up and goes, "Oh my god, I killed him!"
Yeah.
And he runs out. And then
And-
Gus gets up, and then he runs out.
Yeah. In the way Gus pops up too, right? He's like, "Gotta go," right? And he books it.
It's
out
like
of the
he
room.
came to life, though. He sold like the fact that he was dead. And he was like, "Ugh," and like woke
Yeah.
up and ran out.
Yeah, so that was really good because now he's no longer the suspect, right? And so what they got from the video footage, right, was that we found out that Randy had tagged Shabby, not illegally, but sort of against Aquarium protocol because he wanted to do a follow up, 1 year later. Where's Shabby? He's just always looking at how he can capitalize, stay in the spotlight. He's your Greg Scomo. Right, of the show, right? Don't get me wrong, I like Greg Scomo, love Shark Week, but like that type of character, right? Like how can we stay relevant and how can we profit off this? And so the reason why he was so shifty in the prior to the release of Shabby is because he's looking for the best television moment he can find. And with that big freighter in the background, like you said, it screws up his fucking shot. So he's got to move, change locations. But what do Shawn and see here? They see another boat, and it's the boat that they encountered, the night or the day before when they were out on the dock. So this was a really good scene, a really important scene. It rules out the main suspect. You've now got 2 new suspects, but you still have no idea the why.
Yeah, you don't have motive, you don't have well, you have the means, but you don't really have the opportunity. There's not a whole lot other than these guys were in the same area that the Shabby was probably in. So they go to the docks, they see the guys, they see him go one direction, Harry Styles style, then they go the other, and they hop onto the boat, they see some fishy stuff, pun intended, and now that the guys are coming back, they have to kind of hide in the little hole or whatever, the hull of the ship. And then underneath there, they kind of figure out that they got Shabby's tracking device there because he got tangled in their fishing net that they were pulling in.
Yeah. And yeah, so they're down there and you see the other guys. One guy's like, I hear something. There's something going on. The other guy's, yeah.
He's got eagle ears.
and I always love these moments where Shawn and Gus are like in tight spaces like this because they're fucking children. They can't stand still and they can't be quiet. They're always jabbing at each other, poking at each other, right? And so they're making a shit ton of noise, but they find the tracker. So Shawn's trying to contact Jules and he's texting on his phone. Very smartly,
Mute
right?
your keys.
Shawn's street smarts is, off the charts, right? Because he's been trained forever by his dad. He turns the tracker on. And so now, like, he's assuming that they're back out at sea because they're moving. He's got the tracker on. He tells Jules to sort of follow the tracker. But we get another piece of evidence here, and this is where Shawn finally puts it all together, and this is where it all starts to come full circle. He sees the pamphlet with the name that I can't pronounce, Billy. What is that name?
Rocinante?
Rocinante, which is, the question that Lassie had asked way back in the beginning of the episode when he asked, have you heard anything about Rocinante? And then this is where Shawn.
It's a couple from Lisbon.
So Shawn thinks, they're out at sea, but when Jules pulls up the tracking device, they're on the corner of,
like First and Main or something.
Yeah. And she's like, Shawn, I don't, she texts back, whatever way. She's like, you're not, you need to go take a look outside. You're not where you think you are. And so, like, Shawn pokes his head out of the hull against Gus's, advice. And as soon as they pop their heads out like meerkats, boom, there are the 2 guys. So now they've got him at gunpoint. And I love a classic Shawn Stalin.
Stalin. And did you get that reference?
The Stalin?
Stalin, the guy who said it?
No.
Okay, so that is another one of the references. Where do we put those?
Down the bottom, Billy.
Okay, there we go. I wrote him in, actually, so I should know. Rutger Hauer, he is the guy from Blade Runner.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that's why he's staying Stalin.
Stalin.
German. No, he's Dutch. He's Dutch.
It's right. He is Dutch. Rutger Hauer is Dutch. And so now, like, they're at gunpoint. This is what Shawn does best, where he's like, He's doing that thing that Bart Simpson does with Sideshow Bob, having him sing the HMS Pinafore,
Yeah, he's Sean.
right, to kill the time for the cops to come. And so this is where we find out that Lassie's case with the diamonds, the plane crashed over the sea, the diamonds. So these guys were after the diamonds, and this was a great reveal. And so we'll just get right to it now because because Shawn had activated the tracker, right? The four, everyone shows up. So we find out that the Who were the two shifty pricks that we see on the boat. They were after the diamonds, which is related to Lassie's story. So that's that final piece that sort of brought this all together. And this is another case where something accidental happens and it leads to the bad guys getting caught. So they're on the boat, they're looking for the diamonds, they're using their radar, and because Shabby had just been released a day or so prior, his tracker that Randy Labayda never should have put on him set off the radar. They thought it might have been another boat or something.
They thought it was a diver going to get their stuff.
Yeah,
they thought they'd been had. So boom, 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 shoot him dead, and it turns out that it's a sea lion.
And they didn't give a shit because there's a sea. Who's going to care about a sea lion, right? And so that's sort of like the brilliance of the episode. It's like like sometimes in the past where there's been a happy accident like this, it's been a little convenient. But I just thought that this was so well crafted and so well put together. Like I said, the puzzle pieces all fit perfectly, and they revealed everything at the perfect time. So like you really do believe one thing for 3/4 of the episode, or 5/6 of the episode, or 3/5 of the episode, or 6/10, right? And then you get that little swerve at the end where you're like, oh, and I think that's part of what makes this episode as good as it is that it's just so well crafted. And the who, the why, the how, I thought was just brilliant. So, and I jotted it down here, right? Shabby's transmitter sets off the radar. Never should have put on there. Shabby ends up at the funeral with Shawn and Gus. Shawn has a suspicion. It leads to an investigation, which leads to them solving the case. And so, like, again, it was just done so perfectly.
Yeah, it was great wrap up. Great, use of Stalin over and over. I love that. And then, the writing, as you said, like you're flowing the whole time. Everything makes sense. They even like plant them in the Labayda part, so you kind of have all the clues that lead you down this road. And I was actually just looking up this episode. I wanted to see who were the writers on it. Yeah, it was written and directed by Steve Frank. So yeah. I think that makes a little bit of sense that he was on this one specifically, because it's just a classic Psych episode. They mix in the comedy at every moment. This one had the rhythm of a classic Psych episode.
Yeah, it really did. And like while like there weren't like a ton of fast-paced lines or a ton of fast-paced gags, it was just, again, classic Psych episode, start to finish. You had your laughs, you had your moments of levity, but the story was great. That flowed perfectly. It was just outlandish enough that it was fun. But then they brought it, they gave it a serious tone, right there at the end. And, this is definitely up there. We didn't mention this at the beginning, sort of, where this episode ranks this season. And it definitely ranks, I think, right up at the front. The front.
Yeah, we usually discussed that earlier. And I would say this will be top, I think there's 15 episodes this season.
15 to 16, yeah.
16, so definitely in the top 5 for me easily. And I think we do get the heavy hitters coming right after this. Like Lassie did a bad thing. Earth, Wind, and Wait for It. Any Given Friday Night. True Liars. Oh boy. So this will probably be that 5-6 spot. Maybe a little bit higher, but it's a phenomenal episode from T to B, top to bottom.
Yeah. Definitely the one of the better episodes we've had, to this point. Maybe the best episode that we've had so far, in season 3. And definitely, like, again, not that the last ones were clunkers by any stretch of the means, but like, okay, like there's things we like, things we didn't like. Like this one, like I don't have
Talk Derby to me was another pretty flawless one.
Yeah. There's definitely been some good ones, but this one just stands out because of just all the elements really coming together. So, I mean, I don't have any least favorable moments in this episode.
No,
Yeah.
I really don't at all, actually.
Yeah. And so let's get into, the memorable moments. And I love the cold open. I love that moment with Gus waving, "Hi, Mr. Dolphin." And I love Gus trying to say sea anemones.
Sea anemone. I
Yeah.
can actually say it now because of the show, but sea anemone, and then the bad guy actually winds up saying it.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love the back and forth with Gus and Sean
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the office fighting over her. And then another part that's really nice, a little tell. She approaches Jules about Sean, like, "What do you think?" And Jules is basically held speechless by it. She's like, well. And then even at the end of the episode, she kind of lets Sean know that, like, things will work out between the two of you. And he actually doesn't know what she's talking about, but
Yeah.
we know. We all know.
Yeah, that was a great moment because I think that was really the first time. I mean, there was that almost kiss where you really could feel that palpable, we'll call it sexual tension between the two, but like that palpable, like there's something there. They have a legit connection, and then she pulls away, and so then Sean, kind of follows suit. We've seen throughout Sean the blatant, flirting on Sean's part. This was the first time where, when April sort of posed that question to Jules,
Oh, Jules tips her hand.
yeah, she was flustered, and you're right. She tips her hand, and it's the first time we get the real sense that those feelings might be mutual, like seriously mutual in return. So that was a great moment because it was like I just thought like the actress that played April, she did a great job this episode. Like she was really well casted, and I thought Jules played the part really well, and then Sean just kind of playing the straight man there, like, huh, what?
Yeah. We didn't really mention her too much. We focused on Labayda, but she was great.
Yeah.
So again, minus a few of the castings, most notably Lindsay Lycan, Jake will say, usually pretty flawless.
Yeah, she did a great job, and cute as a button. She's a little spark plug on the episode, and she jibed, really well.
She
With
didn't
Shawn and
step on
Gus.
their funk.
Yeah. She was great. She was serious when she needed to be. She was humorous when she needed to be, and so she did a great job. So it's no there's no doubt on this one, Billy, who our favorite character was.
All-star performance from Sean Spencer. I
Yeah.
mean, classic top to bottom. He was thriving the entire episode, joke after joke, and the line delivery of "No, he can't swim that fast."
Yeah.
Just so casual,
Yeah.
hilarious. The hair analyst thing, and I love the Labayda thing saying about the chest hair, but also Sean being like, the guy's an egomaniac, and with good reason. His hair's phenomenal. Like everything he did in this episode was great. He even did the little bit of this and a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
I should have got that for the screen cap as I was watching the episode. I was like, that's an iconic shot.
Yeah, it is.
So just an episode packed with great Sean moments. Gus also fantastic. A little bit Lassie was in. He was great as well.
Yeah.
But it's really all Sean. And another good Jules episode. And I think we're going to have another good Jules episode in our next one too.
Yeah, and it's a subtle performance by Jules because she wasn't in a lot, but again, we're now getting into it where we're gonna get more Jules, especially as the Sean and Jules sort of relationship, the will they won't they, starts to get a little bit more intense, especially in season 4, with the Yang stuff, right? That's coming. Like Jules is her character, I think, is like we've talked about, like her character really got defined, in season 2. But it's like season 3, season 4, where her character is refined and I think perfected. Especially, I love the episode, with, in British Columbia there with, what's his name? Despero, right? She's great. Lassie's great. Those episodes. So, yeah, absolutely loved it. A couple of quotes here, from Sean. We mentioned the plan A or plan B. "Oh my God, I killed him." And then dinner at a very dark restaurant. "I'll bring some candles in case it's too dark."
Something I like to do. I got to use that. That's a great line.
Yeah. And then this might be the best Gus line of the episode. Is that right off the rip at the funeral there when they get accosted by April because they think they're getting kicked out of the funeral, and Shawn and Gus goes, "Great, Shawn, you got me kicked out of a funeral, PetSmart, Santa's Village, the Salvation Army," and then there's a pause. And again, it's the delivery that we always talk about. It's always comedically
Mhm.
perfectly on time. Shawn goes, "Dishonorably discharged." Right, it was just great because
So good.
Salvation Army, like perfect line there. And then Gus says, here, let me do it. I was once a safety scout. Like, of course you were, Gus.
Yeah, I mean, it's added to the list of random things Gus has been over his life.
Yep. Didn't really have any, Lassie lines that stood out. Henry
Mm.
just, wanted, basically his line was, make it a challenge for me, sort of thing. We talked about Chief Vic there. So, like, again, this episode wasn't packed with like standout one-liners like we get from some of the other classic iconic episodes, but like
Mhm.
the beat of it was just boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. The timing of it was great, and so let's hop on up to the creamsicle, brother. And let's bring this thing home. So I didn't look it up, and I didn't see it. Where was the pineapple?
I just looked it up. I didn't see it on any of the sites that usually have my
Yeah,
pineapples.
yeah.
So,
So it's definitely not a thing in terms of like. There's a point where they definitely put it in every episode, and
mm,
we've gotten them here. But I think like most of the pineapples up to this point have just sort of been coincidence. So it's probably one of those things like a fan pointed out, and they're like, "Yeah,
yeah.
we'll go with it." We get a nice Gus don't be exactly one half of a Black Forest ham sandwich. Love that one.
No, it's don't be exactly half of an 11-pound Black Forest ham.
Oh, so I'm not gonna lie, Billy. When I was writing these notes, I was kind of dozing off. So.
I gotcha. I know that one from memory. It's on my
There we
mug
go.
somewhere.
And then we get a great Gus nickname here,
Oh.
Hummingbird Saltalabakia.
Hello. His first mate, Hummingbird,
Yeah,
Saltalamagia.
right. And then the Henry father of the moment. See the cold open scene that was
Mhm.
absolute stellar, Henry. And then why don't you take us down the trip of take us down the obscure reference lane.
Yeah, Pa does not love Thaw. And when I Googled this, it was all over. Like, it was like the first thing that comes up was obscure psych reference when you
Yeah,
type in Pa does not love Thaw. It is from the 1979 movie The Day of the Dolphin. I looked up the clip. It's pretty weird. It's basically two dolphins. Then
Jesus.
they also mentioned the movie Out of Sight when they're
Yep.
in the hull of the ship, which contains J-Lo. They also mention El Cantante, which is also another J-Lo movie. And then, of course, Rudiger or Harrow, whatever the hell his name is, the guy from the crazy dude from Blade Runner.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer he's one of those classic bad guys. He's just
Mhm.
got that bad guy face, and he was tremendous in Blade Runner. And the name might not. I mean, the name is pretty. It stands out, but like he's one of those guys. Like, oh yeah, he's been in
Mhm.
this, he's been in that, he's been in everything. So,
And quick aside, Woody makes his appearance 14 minutes into season 4, episode 7, High Top Fade Up.
which is a great fucking episode. One of the best.
Yep.
One of the best. Love that one. So, because that's the one with Urkel, right? And and
Keenan.
Keenan, yeah. My grandmother bought me that car.
We are just a few episodes away.
Yeah. Oh, and then I love that name. It's like we're all a bunch of Randall Cunninghams.
No, I love Randall Cunningham. Favorite quarterback of all time.
So, pineapple score, Billy. Out of it, what you giving this one?
I went pretty high. I'm gonna knock it down a tinge. I'm gonna give it a 7.27.
Love it. I gave it a seven even.
All right.
And maybe I could have been a little bit closer with you, but like I felt like 7 was a good score for this because now we're getting close to that American duos territory, and it's not quite those, but it was still really good. Definitely better than some of the episodes we've had this season where I've given 6.5, 6.8, 6.9. Nice. So very, very solid episode, start to finish. Come on, son.
Come on, son.
Come on, son.
So next week we have one of the more highly charged and emotional episodes you're gonna get in the first 3 seasons, and that is Lassie Did a Bad Thing. We get Drummer. We get murder in the station, and it's just it's a fun episode. It's a serious episode. Good performance by Lassie. Great performance by Jules. It's a good time had by all.
Yeah, and so if we don't do this one by the time you listen to the next episode, we may do is a recap review of the Psych season 3 movie. But the next episode we are going to be talking about will be Lassie Did a Bad Thing, and I haven't watched this one in a while. This is one that I know I've watched a lot of, but I haven't watched recently. With my Psych rewatches, so it'll be fun to watch this one and pick up the nuances again, and because it is one of the more dramatic ones, and it's a real great Sean Lassie episode, great Jules episode as well.
Even a couple of good Henry lines, because there is a inmate named Kenny Loggins, and Sean has one of the greatest lines of all time. So you're saying he's not all right. Fantastic.
Love K-Log. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one to rewatch. And so with that, Billy, where can the people find us?
They can find us anywhere they would like. Check the hashtag DorkShared Gooniverse page on Facebook and come out to Idle Hands for one of the podcast's trivia nights on Wednesday. Joe and I will be there. Idle Hands, 7:00 Wednesday.
I believe so. Yep.
So that's the Magoo program. There's also Dork. Those are the two heavy hitters. And then we have CMM. They talk hockey equipment. There is PCP.
They talk angel dust.
They talk angel dust. We do, actually. Then there is TLDR. They talk books. And I think it's Hot Guys on Hawkeye.
Oh, is that the official name?
I think that's the name. Even though I'm gonna say me and Fry are on it, so I don't know if you can officially. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely Fryer. Definitely
Shots
Fryer.
Fired.
Definitely
Shots
Fryer. And then there is the streamers, yourself, Backcracker, Shime Time, and Arvondi, who I think is exclusively twitching on the YouTube for Dork now.
I believe so. Yep.
So go check everyone else out there. Did I miss anything?
You can find us on Instagram. I've heard
on
it both
Instagram.
ways.
I've heard it both ways. And then I think that's it now.
I think that's it. I think we've hit them all, Billy. So until next week, wait for it.
Frank says hi.